Did an interview today with my neighbor and friend. He's 89 years old, and he was a fairly successful actor, successful businessman. He ran an entertainment company, production company. He also he serviced our country. He was in the military, and he is a father and a grandfather. His daughter is actually a partner at the Gersh talent agency. She's a heavy hitter. Her name is Leslie Seibert. And we sat and chatted about life, and he gave me some wisdom and knowledge that I can use, and we all can probably use, depending on what you want to take away from it. But it was a great interview, and he's a friend of mine, and I wanted to document it. So thank you for looking at my YouTube channel, and I wish you guys like and subscribe and comment on the video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Bye. Now look at this. Look at that handsome man. Woo!
That's when I was acting.
Whoa, look at that cowboy. My goodness.
That was then, and this is now.
And we are blessed. Yep, look at this.
So that.
What you got to say about that? Mike Brayton
Yes.
is your
Stage name.
stage name, and this is his headshot.
Right.
Good looking man. Okay, I'm here with my friend and neighbor, Arnie Latkin. And Arnie has had a wonderful life, I consider.
Don't use the word had.
Has.
It seems like we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
Has. Correction. You see, he corrected me.
Okay.
Let's tell you a little bit about him.
Only because I probably have only about 50, 60 good years left.
So, yeah.
And so on, you know.
So, I consider his life wonderful. And we park side by side, and I end up having a conversation with him about life, and I'm nosy too, and I noticed that he has a regimen that I pay attention to. He works out regularly, and he's a healthy man. And I asked him a few questions. He invited me up to his place, and he told me about working out, proper eating. While he was telling me about proper eating, I noticed a few little pastries in the background while he was talking to me about eating properly. But I let him go ahead and continue.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, we talked about working out, and then I started asking him a few questions, and I said, I think Arnie would be a good person to interview for my YouTube channel. And some of the things that I was thinking about was, I have a few friends who don't know what it's like to have a father. They don't really have really good male role models in their lives. And I'm good into energy, and I sense that you're a good man. And I thought this would be a good person to ask, what does it mean to be a man and a father?
In direct answer to that question, I don't think there's a specific designation or something we can look up,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to answer that. If you looked in an area where you were growing a certain crop, you would have certain answers. You have to till the soil, you have to plant the seeds, and then you have to supply the water and nourishment and care for it until it grows.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps on that same basis, we accept, in particular in my case, where I am a father and now a grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
how I raised my children and attempting to advise
You
my
said attempt.
grandchildren of what not to do and to do, not so much that, but perhaps by example,
Mm-hmm.
okay? To hopefully show them that when they make a mistake, and we all do, somewhere along the line, we make mistakes, but hopefully we become aware of that and what we can do to avoid that,
Mistakes.
okay?
But I also think that, you learn a lot from mistakes if you really look inwardly, and it helps you try not to make those mistakes again. If it really hits your spirit, and does enough damage, you definitely learn from them. So, you talked about love. Well, you didn't really talk about love, but I felt it. I felt it when you spoke of a person, and I wanted to know, how do you define love?
Well, let's talk about what the love encompasses for that situation or person,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Love itself can be as simple as saying, I love to see the newborn grass popping up in the earth
Mm-hmm.
in spring. Love can be to another person saying that I will sacrifice everything
Well,
for
he
you.
kind of running around a little bit in circles. We're going to get down to the sacrifice anything for you part.
Uh-huh.
What does that mean? Like when you say, well, let me see, romantic love. Tell me what that means. The kind of love that I felt from you when you talked about a particular person. I felt it, and that was the first time you brought it up to me, and I was like, ooh, Arnie, really, this person.
Well, at that time, I think I was speaking about, shall I mention the name?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to.
Dolores Hart,
Wow.
okay? We never reached a point where we talked about marriage or anything else, but I loved her because she represented a rarity in life of a person that was just honest, true, and beautiful from within.
Mm-hmm.
When she said or did something, you knew that it wasn't some contrivance or mistake or something that wasn't supposed to be said. It was just pure. It was from...
It was love. Mm-hmm. Which is so beautiful. When I just listened to him say what that is, it touched me when he actually mentioned her and he told me about her. I felt it. I felt a genuine, authentic, real. I mean, how long ago was that? That's what I want.
When I just tell you 1,000 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it was 1,000 years ago, and yet it seems like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
In total, I imagine it's some near 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So that's what love is. Then it never goes away. That's what I think. Because when you truly love, it just is. It's first of all, God is love, and it's within us. So when you truly love, it stays with you forever. It just doesn't go away. It's sunk into your spirit, and it just sticks with you. It's like a part. It's the thing that you walk down the street, and it makes you smile. Just the thought of it.
Well,
Pure.
I think the word pure really covers it,
Mm-hmm.
because, and yet we can add the word simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that has to be bisected and torn apart and tried to figure out and so on. It's just pure, and it's the feeling that we know is proper, it's right, and we admire that, okay?
Have you felt that before, since then?
Yes, I feel it with my children and grandchildren now,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And let's face it, there are reasons that some relationships don't work and others do.
Mm-hmm.
And whether we can perhaps nail love as the criteria of what we should look at, I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know that if you're honest with your own feelings and don't reject what's right and proper in what you do with your life and your actions, then you can pretty much walk around at peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so that one word that you just used is interesting. What is peace?
Peace follows lots of things. I think recognition is a big word we all are just aware of, but we don't really delve into it. Recognition is what you hope you get from the people you meet and are surrounded with and are close to, and even strangers. Recognition being that you're recognized for what you're doing and for what you are.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I had a company of so many employees, and I wouldn't just talk to the managers and the supervisors. I would go out and interact with the people who were performing the jobs and so forth. But that, I wasn't almost aware of it at the time, but I realize it now. But that actually gave them the recognition which I'm talking about, okay?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And the recognition of me being on just a level of understanding as human beings to be able to converse. And you know, when Christmas and Thanksgiving came, that they baked cookies for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so, you know, overjoyed.
See, this is why I wanted to interview this guy.
Well, I'm not really saying any of that.
I know, but I'm
first.
saying this for me, that this is why I wanted to, because, like I said, I sense energy and I sense things from people, like a sense of who they are, and I can't really put my finger on. It's a gift, and when I run into a certain type of person, when I sense something from them that's special, it's because I do have this gift. I don't sense it all the time.
Well, I'm so unaware of that.
But
that impresses me as far as why I find us so easy to converse
mm-hmm.
and be buddies, not just because we park next to each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Because once I came into your environment and we started chatting, I realized this is a cool dude. So, and I wanted to like get to know Arnie better. Yeah, not just the interview, but also just to get to know you as a person. Also, you know, he had mentioned that he ran his own company at one point. You were also in the military, weren't you?
Yes.
And you also were an actor.
Yes.
You know what kind of, did you do any movies or TV shows or anything like that?
Well,
commercials? Plays?
I did a Playhouse 90, which was 1,000 years ago. That's my favorite expression.
1,000 years ago was his thing. Mm-hmm.
And I did a film which I won't even mention the name of because it was so horrible, okay? And it had no script. The director, who also had written it, was writing it as we went along, and it was shot way out of state and so on. So I am not what you might say particularly proud of.
Of his acting. I get it.
No, not of my acting.
What's the work that you've done?
That particular thing.
Okay.
Playhouse 90 was a unit called Dark December, and that was well done.
Okay.
Okay. I was not a lead in it, I just had a part in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost couldn't recognize what was happening through all the shells falling. It was about the Battle of the Bulge,
Okay.
and so on.
Now, can you hold 1 second? I just want
Sure.
to make sure that we are doing good. Yes, we're doing good. I can edit this. I can edit stuff, so I don't. Do you mind if I took a picture of like your headshot from your?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Tips that you got from Dean Martin on golfing and your fitness regimen and how we end up even sitting here talking in the first place. Because I messed up on the filming originally, so.
You didn't mess up. Sometimes modern technology, okay, isn't the preferred way to go about things, and it has a mind of its own.
Yeah.
So don't ever blame yourself.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll blame this iPhone 10.
Right, whatever.
We talked about how I end up even coming into, like, we having this whole conversation was that you had a regimen that you do. And
Yes.
that was a fitness regimen, and I noticed it, and we end up having a conversation about taking care of our bodies, and I wanted to know about what you do.
Okay. I have a simple, basic way of living,
Mm-hmm.
and which over the years I have found to be, you know, the one that works. I feel for me for sure, but I feel that most people could follow this and really experience a better health.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically what we've heard a million times over and over again.
You also mentioned to me that you used to run. You was a runner at some point.
Yes. We used to run every morning, okay, at the Van Nuys Sherman Oaks Park,
Mm-hmm.
which had a half-mile track,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd run around it 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran 6 miles every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the weekends, we might go for a longer one, maybe, 10 miles or 12 miles,
Yeah.
whatever. But that was an occasional thing on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't realize at that time, although I felt good, my health felt terrific and so forth, was that I should have better prepared my feet as far as the pounding that it took.
Yeah.
And now the padding on the bottoms of my feet are not what they
used to
should be.
from all the running.
Okay, right. And of course, were I truly a graceful and great runner, I would not have, had that the improper pounding that I took. So that also contributed to it. But what I'm doing now, because what I was attempting to do with the running was to get the aerobics going and that aspect of my health. And then, of course, I would go to the gym and do the workouts there, which were basically push-ups, sit-ups with lighter weights and so on. I wasn't looking to become Mr. America and enter a contest.
Yeah, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right,
Okay.
right. So today, what I do is I've not continued to run, but I walk at a quick pace for 2 miles, and that takes me approximately 38 minutes, and that gets my pulse rate up. So I'm achieving what I was achieving before, which was to get the aerobic benefit.
Yeah.
On top of that, what I believe in is to eat basically the simple foods. But we're talking about moderation,
Yeah.
okay? And the moderation is that, hey, let's once in a while have that soda that we want that has too much sugar in it,
Yeah.
and so forth. If we don't deviate slightly, life may become
Boring.
too humdrum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I do though is I basically eat the simpler foods, okay, but the nutritious ones.
So do you have a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, or how does that work?
Yes. My breakfast is the big meal of the day. And I have all of my vitamins and minerals and supplements, okay, that we know about with the fish oil, etc., and so on. And then I have fruit with my cereal, and the cereal has not only the fruit in it, but it usually has a couple of fruits. I usually have blueberries and cut up a peach and so on and so forth.
Are you into like the organic fruits and vegetables, or you just like when you go to the grocery store, does that matter to you?
Well, it's not something that I must or mustn't have, okay? If I find the regular items there that are low in sugar and sodium and so forth, I use them just equally with the organics.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Do you snack in between any like your meals?
if I do snack, it's something like I might have some cherries, or there's a certain fruit bar that's pure nuts and so forth.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
But you don't, like we discussed earlier about the chips and all.
No.
You don't mess around with the chips.
I don't, but however, sometimes in a meal where the chips are and so forth, I let the chips fall where they may.
So silly.
But that's just the moderation that I'm talking about.
Okay.
If you once in a while you want to deviate, do it, unless it's something very injurious to your health, you know, which is something, an item that no one should be eating and so forth. So,
And what's that? What would you consider an item that no one should be eating? Because you know somebody's eating them.
well, there are the various drugs that are taken because we've become inundated with them, and things of that nature. Those are definitely a no-no.
Like, do you eat candy?
I eat candy, but I attempt to eat the candy that's even the better candy, so to speak.
Like the dark chocolates.
Well, chocolate is actually not bad for you, okay? Especially if you have the black chocolate.
That's why I said the dark chocolate.
Right. It is better than the milk chocolate because the milk chocolate has the, added sugars and so forth. So, but chocolate in itself is not bad.
Do you eat ice cream?
Yes, I eat ice cream, but I eat the ice cream that's low in
Sugar.
in the sugar, okay, and so on. And I don't eat it regularly, okay?
It's like a little treat.
Yeah, I have it once in a blue moon just to remember what it was like.
So it's like a little treat for yourself.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So no sugars, low sugars and low salts.
Yes, both of them should be low. Both are very injurious, okay, and they should be watched. And I've even gotten, which is my problem, since my eyesight is not perfect, I've gotten this magnifier with a light on it where I can actually read the fine print of the labels in back, because ordinarily a lot of people can't even read the label. It's so darn small.
Yeah. So you said you keep a certain amount of grams a day, or like in salts and
Well, in the salts, you'll find that many products that are on the shelf or even in the fridge that are to be kept for a while have sodiums in the higher or in the 200, 300, 400 and so on, and that's really way too much, okay, for the sodium.
Yeah.
And in the sugars, I keep it under 10, and I like to keep it, closer to the 3, 4, and 5 area.
But with the sodium, what do you do? How do you look at the sodium? Like when you turn it on the back and you look at, it has 200, grams of, or whatever, grams of sodium. What do you, how much sodium do you look at and say, that's too much?
Well, I just mentioned that when it's into the hundreds, it's really too much. Okay.
Yeah.
So sodium itself, it should be carefully watched. We shouldn't be adding sodium to our foods, okay? But most people want that flavor, and so on. But I made an experiment several years back, and when I cook for myself, I take the meat, which from the market, and I'm, broiling it or whatever I'm doing with it, and I don't add anything to it, and then I sit down and eat it, and you'd be surprised how flavorful it is without
the salt
or other additives.
That's because you gotten so used to having it with none of that you just enjoy the taste of it like that.
Right. And the food itself has the various elements in it, okay, that when they are, cooked and so forth, they're released, and
you don't need anything to put anything on.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, well, my food might be too salty for you. If that's the case.
Well, I understand.
Because I'll use like sea salt and garlic powder, and I make sure I mince up fresh garlic and onions, and I use a little bit of olive oil, and
right.
But I try not to use that much salt, but sometimes I do. And as you said, you don't use no salt, so you probably eat my food and you be like, oh my God, this is just too salty, oh my God.
But something, I wish people would really try it without adding anything, and just cook it properly, like you just mentioning the olive oil. That's fine to use. Okay, that's what we should use, and so on, and just cook it in that and so forth, and just get the true taste of
what
the
it
item.
is. Yeah, I try not to eat that much meat though, just because I just try not to.
Well, it's a good idea because we want to really stay away from animal fats if we can. But on the other hand, excuse me, on the other hand, if we do it in moderation, okay?
Yeah, you should be fine.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's where the moderation comes back.
So your workouts, like I said, I noticed that you should work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you on those Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you're doing your walking, and then you go in the gym, and then you do a little bit of weight lifting, and then done.
I don't consider it weightlifting. I consider it a range of motions. Okay, like I'll do the chins and the push-ups, and the sit-ups
Mhm.
and all of these things, and then the weights are going from the shoulders on down to, and then going forward with
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So I'm using the weights for a range of motion
Yeah.
rather than lifting a weight
Yeah.
because I can say
Yeah,
I
I can lift a
lifted.
certain amount of weight.
Right,
And now you can move up to the whatever poundage.
right.
Yeah, I get it. Now, we talked about golf, and I know that golf is your thing. I done went through all the Bobby Jones books and watch you hit and swing and all that. And you told me you had a little issue with your golf at one point, and some wonderful person kind of helped you out with your golf that golfed at the Riviera
Yes,
Country Club.
I was at Riviera Country Club, and another member there, Dean Martin, who is quite, famous. We all know Dean Martin. And he was a wonderful, wonderful person. He could be, I was never a close friend. I don't want to intimate that. Nor was I his regular golfing partner. But I golfed with him maybe once a month or something like that. And so on. And do you want to hear about that particular story?
Yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah, I was at the driving range going out with my regular group, and Dean was at the driving range also going out with his regular group. And I was having one of those negative swing days where it just wasn't working to my satisfaction. So I was mumbling, as some of us do, and I was saying, "Oh, wonderful, that's a great shot," being very contrary, and so on. And Dean obviously heard me mumbling like I was, and he came over and he said, "Okay, Arn, what's the problem?" And I said, "Dean, I'm hitting him just like dog meat." And he said, "Okay, let me see." And Dean Martin happened to have a very good eye, and he really knew the golf swing. And so I hit a few shots, and fortunately I hit them just as rotten as I was hitting them. Because it's terrible to tell someone I'm doing poorly and then all of a sudden hit some fine shots. So he mentioned something to me to which this day I do not remember what he said. Okay? And I am sorry that I didn't really write it down.
That's all right, but it worked for that particular moment.
It worked. I went out and I had 5 bogeys, 5 birdies, and all the rest pars, and I actually parred Riviera Country Club for the first time.
Now, have you partied every after that, or was it?
I did par it after that again, but that was the first time. But since then, my game has dissipated again, and I'm nowhere near that. But I went in. Do you want to hear about what Dean?
Yeah, all that.
Okay.
When you went to the clubhouse.
Yes, I went into the clubhouse, and I knew that Dean, after he was through playing, liked to play cards, and so on. So I went into the card room, and there he was, and he was dealing at the time, so I didn't want to interrupt. And he happened to look up, and he saw me, and he said, "Oh, how did it go, Arn? Did it work?" Meaning what he had offered to tell me. And I said, "Dean, for the first time in my life, I parred the course." He said, "Yeah, I told you." And he kept dealing.
So he knew what he was talking about.
It was just beautiful. I wish that could have been recorded.
Over and over.
Him
telling you.
Yeah, well, but also his response, because I knew it would work.
He was so nonchalant about it, like, I know what I'm talking about.
Right, and everyone there truly was a fan of his, not for his
Yeah,
abilities on the screen, but
for his
because he
golf.
was a true good human being.
Yeah, okay. You did say that, and you said that he didn't drink as much as people thought. Did
Oh
he?
no, not at all. When I saw him there, as I did on other occasions also, he had one bottle of beer there, okay, and I rarely saw it empty, okay. He'd take a sip now and then.
Yeah.
So he knew exactly.
So when he was just having a good time, he was having a good time, and he knew that he was having a good time, and people tried to make more of it than what it was.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
He,
That's Hollywood for you, though.
Of course.
Yeah, you know.
Of course. And that's the publicists.
Yeah.
That's what the notoriety is.
Yeah.
That's what, people remember.
Because during that time, that was like kind of like a cool thing to do, was to be able to throw down a couple of good amount of drinks and be like the happening kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like
To be
that
part.
can drink people up under the table and still be okay.
Yeah. Part of the group, and all of you were expected,
Yeah.
But I didn't care for drinking, and I never did, and and I haven't missed a thing.
Yeah. Well, you mean, I have a drink every now and then. Like, I have alcohol at home, and it's been there for like forever. Just every blue moon, if someone came over and they wanted a cocktail, I could make them a drink.
Yeah.
But I'm not like a big drinker. It's not something I have to do, or I need to come home and have a drink.
But you know something? There's that word again, moderation. There's nothing wrong. And actually, doctors say a little wine once in a while is actually healthy.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah.
A good red wine.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
And you mentioned also that you ran your film company.
Well, I didn't run it.
Now,
I was vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Of Tom Laughlin's company,
Was it
Billy Jack Productions,
Yeah.
and so on. But I was in charge of the several companies out there, which were the talent company, the music company, the production company, etc., and so on. And
So how'd you fall into that? How did you get into that side of things?
well, I met him through golf at Riviera,
Okay.
and we became friends. And then he talked about the fact that he was doing this, and he knew that I was in business and had my own companies and so on. And he said, maybe you could be a stable,
Help me.
force,
Yeah.
and so on. And so I went down there, and so I became his vice president, and I dealt with Warner Brothers and the various groups there that you had to watch and see because they all have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
So I attempted to create stability
Yeah.
within the organization.
So had you had any entertainment experience working with those type of companies before, or you just kind of use your own business savvy?
Well, I was an actor originally,
Yeah.
okay? And I was having modest success, and I had studied a bit in New York, and then when I got out of the service, I went to a school for drama education for a couple of years, and so forth, and then I started to do some parts and so forth, and got an agent and so on. And then I met the lady that I later married, and she had a little girl, and when we got married, I said to myself, there's no way that I have the stability to support, a growing family.
Yeah.
And so I had a pretty fair knowledge of marketing and so on. And so that's what I also went into.
Mm-hmm.
And then I dropped the acting completely,
And said, I gotta take care of my family.
and that's where it went.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I did okay and developed a business and then another company and so on. And
So after that, the entertainment, what other company did you develop?
well, the one company that I went into was a small company at the time, and the two owners one was an investor and the other worked there, but they were along in years and so on. And I just saw the mistakes that were being made there, and so I went out and started to do the marketing. I actually drove to the customers, and the customers were customers that were, you know, well known in the world, but we were doing a very small part of what they had. And so by visiting them and becoming known to them, the company started to grow, and within a half year they were profitable. And then we bought out the homes on the back street and enlarged the company. And by then I bought the company and took over and so on. And so,
Yeah, so you were successful in
Yeah.
running a profitable company.
yeah.
Wow, so that's fantastic. It's taking something and making it grow and utilizing all your talents to.
Well, you have to understand that in business, generally speaking, you're dealing with your customers, okay? In any industry, you have a certain market that you're selling to, okay? Or your services are worth X to so-and-so. And those are the people that have to be nurtured and accustomed and taken care of. And that wasn't happening there until I changed that whole aspect and so forth.
So you would you say that customer service is the foundation of a successful company? Providing customer service, what the customer wants, that's like a key foundation to a successful company?
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. If you can satisfy a customer, but you must also be smart enough to utilize what labor you have, what equipment, what leases you have, and all these things to make sure that you're not just doing business to do business, but you must sell what you're selling, cover all of your costs, and still have a profit margin. Because without what's called the bottom line, you may as well be fishing in a stream and not doing anything else.
What would you say is a good boss, like a good leader of a company? What qualities would that person have to have?
The qualities that a good leader must have is really to inspire the employee to know that they are worthwhile, they are valued, okay, and they must perform to your standards, okay? But you just don't yell and scream and threaten and do and so forth. You must be able to communicate with the employees. Now, at one company, I had 300 employees, and I still would walk out amongst production areas and wherever anything was happening, and I got to know the names of the people and treated them with respect. And they, in turn, which boggled my mind, but I found it worked because of how I felt about handling things. I found that when Thanksgiving and Christmas came, they baked me cookies and did things. And between the shifts, they would make sure to tell the oncoming shift that there is a problem with such and such, and you better do this to remedy it.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't care,
They wouldn't say anything.
right.
Drop the ball and that's it.
So by my treating them with respect, which was not put on, I did respect them.
Yeah.
Because every one of them was valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did I respect them, but I made sure that the people that I developed into supervisors and so on came from within.
Mm-hmm.
I
You didn't have to hire out. You didn't have to go find
I
them.
didn't have to.
Mhm.
No.
So what did you think is like, say if you had an employee who was a hard worker, but they weren't, I don't know, maybe they weren't as much pulling their weight like the rest of them, but was a hard worker.
Well,
How do you handle those type of
then you have to, and I'll play act with you for a moment, okay?
all right.
Either myself or their supervisor would go to them and say, Tony, George, Henry, whatever their name was, I want to talk with you. Let's have a little talk. We notice that this is happening and so forth. You're here on time. I see you working well, and so on and so forth. But do you realize that 70% of the items that you've done X to have to be called back because of such and such? Okay, what can we do now to make sure that that doesn't happen, so you can really do this, blah, 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 and so forth? And when you approach in that manner, to do something positive, to achieve something that benefits both them and the company, that's how you...
It's a win-win situation.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. It's a win-win situation for sure. Okay. All right. I think I got all my interview done. With me having to go back and do the interview again, a little portion of it. I went back and I was like, hey, what happened to the part about Riviera Country Club and the working out? Oh, it's not there.
Oh,
Well, thank you for taking the time again to re-record.
listen, you know something? I feel this way about it. If it gets to just one other person
Mm-hmm.
and they get something that maybe they're not even aware of at the time, and it surfaces when they need it, I'd be very happy.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole purpose of it all.
If we're not here to live with each other and be caring about one another, we might as well be on a desert island or under a dictatorship somewhere where that's what life is.
Mm-hmm. It's awful.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
Asking Barbra Streisand and Seth Rogen, and we're sitting there watching, and I'm tapping my phone.
Uh-huh.
See what I told you?
Yeah.
And she's like, it would only happen with you. Only happen with you. I was like, yeah, no, it's crazy.
Look at that nice little, look at that. Nice stroke. Wow.
So, golf is a crazy game. We think we have it, but the golf god is probably a woman who hates men. Okay? And she never lets us get too satisfied or too overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, but now so many ladies play the game.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Oh, God, do not. And they have the same problems that the men do. So, you know, it makes you wonder.
Mm-hmm.
But another place, my
I just asked my friend, does he enjoy living on his own? And he's about to answer me, so this is his response to me asking, does he enjoy living on his own? All right, Ernie.
a double answer.
Why?
Because there are some times I just truly enjoy not having to have a regimen or a certain time situation where I have to be and do and so forth. However, I do miss the companionship of a good lady, okay? And I would like to have someone who had my same values, okay? But also who was a giving person, because I am, okay? I would expect the same. It has to be a two-way street. It can't be one way or the other.
Out of balance.
Right.
When
And
somebody's taking advantage of the other person.
unfortunately, I was married for 26 years, and I found that the other person wasn't the giving person, and so on. And so
That didn't work.
it did not
After a
work.
while, it's just like,
But I never regret it, because I've got wonderful children and grandchildren. So I'm totally delighted.
yeah, you got something from it.
Right.
Something beautiful from it.
You bet. And that's worth everything. And
Yeah.
so I can't, it's another big thing in life. We all have a choice. And I hate to be so corny as to say
'Cause you
it's
know
either half full or half empty.
Because you know you're corny when you like to watch Hallmark.
You're right. But there is that expression. But let's all look at everything, even the tough stuff, as half full, because let's find a way to overcome if it's a bad situation. But don't go around bemoaning your fate with negligible aspects of life. It's the big picture that's important.
But you know,
The
that's
side too.
this is Arnie's sneaker collection. He has more. And I have on my hype piece. Yep. More sneakers.
This is not a sneaker.
Hope you guys enjoyed the content, my conversation with my neighbor and friend Arnie. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to making new and different content. Thank you.